Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy and today I want to talk about book series I did not finish. This can either be about book series I had no interest in continuing, I just didn't like. The next books of the series hadn't come out yet and I just didn't pick them up yet when they came out. Lots of reasons why I didn't finish anything. I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer before I get into this video that if you like any of the book series I'll be talking about, if any of them are your favorite series, then it's totally fine. I'm glad you love those. They were just not for me. And that's fine. We all like what we like and that's okay. I split this video up in two parts. Part 1 is gonna be a book series I did not finish and have no interest in finishing whatsoever. And part number 2 is book series I didn't finish but I do plan on finishing at some point in the future. So let's just get into it. Let's just get into part 1. The first one I am not gonna finish is quite a controversial one because lots of people love this, and that's Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I enjoyed the first 2 books. I really liked those. I think I binge read them as well. Got to the 3rd book and I hated it. I hated the 3rd book. I was only reading it at 1.4 and I ended up skipping chapters. I hated Manon. I just skipped all her chapters and skim read like the rest of them. Didn't like Rowan at all. So at one point I was like, why am I still reading? And I just put it down and I have no interest in picking the series back up again. Many people have told me that I should pick it back up again because I will like it more after the 3rd book, but I just don't want to continue with a book series that I didn't like and invest my time and energy in that. So yeah, it's too bad because I really like the first 2 books, but I'm not going to continue with Throne of Glass. I think it has like 7 books out or something now, so yeah, I'm not gonna get into that anymore. So Throne of Glass is a no for me. Then the next one is also quite controversial because lots of people love this one as well, and it's The Raven Boys by Meg Stiefvater. I don't get this series. I must say I did read the first 3 books because the 4th book wasn't out yet, but I just don't get it. It was very weird to me. I didn't connect with any of the characters. I only liked what's his name, Noah, the ghosty one. Was it a ghost? I liked him. I didn't really like the rest. Couldn't connect with any of them. I thought the story was really weird. I just couldn't figure out what exactly they were trying to do with the ley lines and this weird king person. No idea. So yeah, I just gave up on those. I have no interest in reading the last one. I also heard it's not that great anyway. So The Raven Boys were not for me, even though I know lots of people love it and that's great. But yeah, I personally didn't really see the appeal to be honest, and I'm not gonna ever read the 4th book. But yeah, so that's The Raven Boys. The next one, I have 3 like pretty controversial books in a row. The next one is also one that many people love, and that's A Dark Shade of Magic by V. Schwab. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first 2 books, but I didn't really connect with any of the characters. I liked Lila, but Kel was meh for me, and the events were okay, I guess, the plot that was happening, but I read the 2nd book and after that I just didn't have an urge to read the 3rd book. I was like, I don't really care about this world. I just decided to get rid of my copy of A Dark Shade of Magic because I'm never gonna read the 3rd book because I'm no interest in it. And not because it was bad, it just didn't really care about the characters. And for me, I really need to care about characters to be able to enjoy a book. I know lots of people enjoy it and I get why. I totally get why, but it's just, I wasn't for me. I just didn't enjoy it as much. Darker Shade of Magic is also not a series I will be finishing. I'm only at book 4 and I have like 16 books on this list in part 1 alone, so maybe get a snack and some tea. The next one I will not be finishing is Silver by Kirsten Kier. I loved her Ruby Red trilogy. I loved it. It's one of my favorite trilogies ever. So I was really excited to pick this one up, but I didn't get it. In my opinion, it was definitely not as good as Ruby Red, but I didn't really like the main character. And also, I read this so long ago, I have no idea what it's about anymore. Like ghosts and doors and cemeteries? I have no idea, but it didn't stick with me. I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would, so I'm just gonna let this series go and I'm not gonna give it any more of my time. It's too bad though because I really loved Ruby Red and I was really hoping I would love this book as well, but yeah, no. Next up is The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. I loved the first book. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I couldn't stop reading it. I loved it. The characters were amazing. The story got me hooked. It was so good. And then I got to book 2 and it was a freaking train wreck. I don't know what the frick was happening in book 2, but I did not get any of it. It was like some entirely different person wrote book 2. So I DNF'd that one halfway through. Honestly, at this point I don't even remember what happened in book 2. It was really disappointing because I really loved the first book and I really wanted to enjoy this trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. But yeah, book 2 just was, I don't know how to describe it. It was confusing, it was weird, the characters that I loved so much in book 1 I didn't really like anymore in this one. So yeah, I gave up on that. I do not have any interest in continuing that series and reading the third book. Watched the movie and I thought it was okay. Did like the book more though. But yeah, the fifth wave is also one I will not be continuing. The next book series I won't be finishing is because the third book will never be published, so there's no reason for me to continue this. But that's Age of X by Rachel Mead. I must say that I liked the first book, but as I read it at a time where it was still a little confusing for me, also because it was an adult book. I wanted to reread the first book like this year or something, and then I found out that the third book will never be published because there just wasn't enough interest in it, which is a shame because I own the first 2 books. Now I see no point in reading the second book because what if it ends on a cliffhanger and I'll be left wondering what the hell was gonna happen. Unfortunately, I won't be finishing that series, but that's not due to lack of interest, it's just because the third book will never come out, which is sad. Next is also one that's very beloved in the book community, and that is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I did enjoy the first book a lot. I thought it was really interesting, I liked the characters, I liked the world, and I immediately started book 2 afterwards, and I read like 1 chapter and I was like, oh, I'm not really in the mood for this, and I put it down and I never picked it back up again. I was never in the mood for it again to read it. So it's too bad because at this point I have no interest in continuing the series. Not because it was bad, but just because I lost interest in it. I think I've kind of evolved in what I like. I have no interest in continuing Miss Peregrine's. I also unhauled these books like a while ago. You might have seen that in my book haul video. That's also a series that I won't be finishing. Next up is The Maze Runner by... who the frick wrote this? James Dashner. The Maze Runner by James Dashner. The first book was amazing. I loved it. And it got me hooked. It was really good. I couldn't stop reading this. I finished it and put it down. I was like, oh, that was pretty heavy. Let me read like a contemporary. Because I had so many emotions about it. And I just never picked up book 2 and 3, ever. I've seen the movies now. I've seen all 3 of the movies and I have zero interest in reading book 2 and 3, even though probably the books are better than the movies. No, it's not gonna happen. Never gonna read The Maze Runner ever again. Even though the first book was awesome and I did really enjoy the first movie as well. Might rewatch that at some point, but I have no interest in reading this series. That happens to me a lot. I like read the first book or read the first 2 books and then I put it down and I'm like, ah, I'll read it later. I'll read the sequels later, and I never do. I never do. I just lose interest. It's a horrible trait. The next one is the Like Us series by Tristan Ritchie. I read the first 2 books, but I have no interest in reading any of the other books that are coming out. If you don't know me or you haven't been following me for a while, I love the Addicted series by them. It's one of my favorite series ever. I love all the characters. I love it. And then they announced they were coming out with like a spin-off series with the kids from the people in the Addicted series. So I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. We're gonna get so much more content. And then I read the first book. I thought it was okay, but I hated the main ship. I hated the love interest. I hated him. I don't like him. I just don't like him. And the main character, I thought it was gonna be very different from what I read in like Some Kind of Perfect. When I read the first book, I was like, okay, maybe it'll get better. And then I read the second book and it did not get any better. So at this point, I'm just gonna stop reading because it's kind of ruining my like experience with the Addicted series and like my view on the kids. And I also know that it's gonna be like a whole bodyguard thing, that all the main characters fall in love with their bodyguards, which I mean it's fine, but I think it's kind of boring for like how many books are out now? I have no idea how many books are out, but like one of the couples already has 4 kids. Imagine all 4 kids falling in love with their bodyguard. It's kind of boring. It was kind of what do you say, lazy writing for them to all fall in love with their bodyguards. I'm just gonna give up on that series. I'm just gonna love the Addicted series forever and like pretend that one does not exist. The next one is Dorothy Must Die. The Daniel Page? I think it's Daniel Page. I don't own the book anymore and I didn't look it up. Yeah, I did not like this one. I just didn't like it. I read the first book. I unhauled this one a couple weeks ago also. I thought it would be really cool, like this Wizard of Oz thing, but I just, no, it was not for me. I have zero interest in reading the sequel to find out what's gonna happen. I just don't care. I don't care. So I'm not gonna continue with that series as well. Sorry if I keep looking down, but like I have a list on my phone down here. The next one, I haven't seen anyone talk about this, but that's Riders by Rossi. I loved her Under the Never Sky trilogy, and when she came out with this series, I was like, oh my god, that sounds amazing. And it's basically about like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, blah blah blah. The first book was alright. I thought I was gonna read the second book. It took a while for the second book to come out, and at that point I didn't remember anything anymore about the first book. I didn't feel like rereading the first book to find out what happened so I could read the second book. Yeah, I just gave up, I guess. Just realizing that I did not enjoy it as much as Under the Never Sky anyway, so yeah, I'm just gonna wait until a new book comes out. I think she has a new book coming out this year called Rebel Spy or something. And that one does sound really good, so I'm just gonna wait for that one, and I'm not gonna bother with this. I think it's a duology. I'm not gonna bother with this duology anymore. The next one is also pretty popular in young adult fantasy, and I think this one has mixed opinions, but it's Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. When I read this, I thought it was like a cliche fantasy of like all the things young adult was doing at the time and just throwing it in one book. And I did not enjoy it. If you asked me now what the frick this book was about, I would not be able to tell you because it did not leave a lasting impression. I think it was about some competition and people with special blood. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what was it about. I have no interest in reading this. I think I gave it like 2 stars or something. I don't even remember. So yeah, not gonna continue with Red Queen. I know lots of people like it, but yeah, no, not gonna happen. The next one is The Star-Touched Queen by Roxana, what's her name? I have to look up what her name is. Oh, no, not Roxana. Roshani Trotsky. I'm sorry if I butchered that. But this book was very confusing to me. The synopsis already sounded very vague, but I saw lots of people loving it, so I thought I would just pick it up. It was very confusing to me. I wasn't really into it as well. I didn't really have an interest in picking it up again when I was reading it. Yeah, I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I liked the writing though. The writing was good, but the story and the characters were not piquing my interest. I will not be continuing that. I'm still wondering if I want to read her other book. I think it's The Gilded Wolves or something. Or is that the second book? No, it's not. But she has another book out, and I'm still debating if I want to read that. So if you've read both of those, let me know if I would enjoy that one, because if they're kind of similar, then I'm just gonna cross it off my TBR. Let me get back to my list. Let's see. The next book series I will not be continuing is Angel Fall by Suzanne E. I read this years after it was like a thing, and I wasn't really enjoying dystopian books that much anymore when I read it, and now I don't enjoy dystopian books anyway. Maybe if I read it like back when I was reading The Hunger Games and Immortal Instruments and Divergent, maybe I would have loved it then, but now I think I've grown out of that like fantasy bits, like with the dystopian. It's not really my thing anymore. Next up is The Sin Eater's Daughter by, I think it's Melissa Salisbury. I did enjoy the first book, but I didn't have the sequels at that point. And I was just like, I have so many other things to read. Let me read those first, like I often do. And I just never picked up the sequel. Story of my life, to be honest. At this point I'll have to read the first book, reread the first book to get back into it. I have no interest in rereading it, and I have so many other books that I want to read, so I'm just gonna let that one go. Next up, it's also a controversial one. I know lots of people love this one, but for me it just wasn't it, and that's Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Don't hate me. It took me 6 weeks to get through this book, where I normally read a book in like 3 days. There was nothing wrong with the story. Let me just say, there was nothing wrong with it. The characters were interesting, the story was interesting. I just had so much trouble getting through it. I would put the book down and I would do something else, and I would just look at the book and be like, I have to read this, but I don't want to. I did finish it, but lots of struggling. I'm still thinking that I might enjoy it when I read it now. That's why I still have it on my shelf, but I haven't had the guts to pick it back up again. That's why I'm also hesitant to pick up Shadow and Bone. Six of Crows just was not for me at that point in time. It might be something I would enjoy now because I like heist stories, but we'll have to see. I still have it on my shelf just in case I want to pick it up someday and try to read it again. For now, at this point in time, I have no intention of finishing it. Let's just keep it there. Then I have 2 more books on this list, and then we can get to part 2. The first one is Nocturna by Maya Maya something. What's her face? Maya Montano. This is basically just a rip-off of Darker Shade of Magic, and the amount of times they said Maldito freaking annoyed me. And the main character is a freaking idiot, and I hated it. I hated it. I'm not gonna continue with the series. I hated it. That's all I have to say about it. And then the next one, the last one on this list, is Shatter Me by Tahada Mafi. Let's just say I really enjoyed those books, and then she announced years later that she was coming out with those other books. But at this point in time, I have no interest in reading the other 3 books. I think there are 3. Don't even know. That's how interested I am. I might in the future, but at this point I'm fine with the way things ended in Ignite Me, and I don't really want to dive back into that world. So that's part 1. Those are all the series I will not be finishing whatsoever. And then we're going into part 2, which are book series I do still want to read in the future. I do still want to continue with those. But I have no idea when that's going to be, because my TBR is a freaking endless pile of books. Let's just get into it. The first one is A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. Why do I not know any of these authors? Brittany Cavallaro, which is basically like a gender bent Sherlock Holmes, but like years after Sherlock Holmes was a thing. So this is basically like his offspring. I really liked the first book. I thought it was really great. I read it in like the period of time where I was watching Sherlock on TV. At that point of time, only the first book was out, so I was like, oh, that's fine. I'm just gonna read the second book when it comes out. And I didn't. And at this point, there are 4 books out, and I still have only read the first one. I'm really hoping I can like get like a box set or something, so I can just have all of them on my shelf and read those. That's one series I do really want to finish. And then the next series I do want to continue is A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I only read this book last year, but I really enjoyed it, and I heard the second book is about like the main character's sister who's gonna be a pirate or something. It's fascinating, so I do still want to continue with that one. I have this tendency to wait until everything in the series is out before I continue with it, because usually I read the first book and I don't realize it's gonna be part of a series. So that's why I have so many first books of a series on my shelf, and I don't have any more because I just bought them when there was only 1 book out, and I was like, oh, there's another book coming out, and another book, and another book. I'll just wait until everything's out and then read it. Which is also the case for like the next book, which is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I thought this was awesome. I really enjoyed this. But yeah, there are 4 books out also. I think it's 4 books. And I really have to get my hands on these because I really enjoyed it, and I think the synopsis for the second one sounds really good. So yeah, I do still want to continue with this series. I just have no idea when that's gonna be. The next book on my list is Black Hearts by Nicole Castroman. This is basically about the life of Blackbeard before he became Blackbeard. And I loved it. I really loved it. Same story as with Stalking Jack the Ripper and A Study in Charlotte. Only the first book was out when I read this. The second book has been out for like since 2017. I still haven't read it. But I do really want to, because the first book kind of ended on a little cliffhanger. I really want to find out what happens. I would just have to buy the books, but I keep buying new books. Horrible. But yeah, this one I also want to finish. Next up is another book about like pirates in the ocean, and that is The Girl from Everywhere by Heidi Heilig. The same story. I read this one when only the first book was out. The second book has been out for a while. I just haven't bought it yet to read it, so yeah. But I do still really want to continue it because I really enjoyed it. I thought the story was really unique and original. I really like the characters. Why am I so bad at finishing series, you guys? Let me know if you're also bad at finishing series, because I need people to relate with. Next one is The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan, which is the first book, Heroes of Olympus series. It still has a sticker on it, and it's like better because I took it with me in my bag to school. I haven't been to school in like 4 years. Now I read this book a long time ago. I really want to continue with the series because I also really want to read The Trials of Apollo. I feel like I can't read The Trials of Apollo until I finish this series. I mean, I don't know what else I have to say about it. I think everybody knows what this is about, so yeah, do want to continue with this. And for the next book, I have no excuse why I haven't finished this yet, because it's a duology and I own both the books, and that is The Crown's Game by Evelyn Sky. The first book was so good. I really enjoyed it, and I own the second book already. I just don't know why I haven't read it yet. I might have to reread this one, or like at least read like a summary or synopsis thing, because I remember the big lines but I don't really remember the details. I hope I can get myself to read the second book this year. I have no excuses. The next series is Lorien Legacies by Pittacus Lore. I thought these books were awesome. This is book 4, I think. I only own book 4 for some reason, but I really enjoyed them, and again, the sequels weren't out yet, or they were out, I don't remember, but I just really want to know how this series ends. But it's also been a while since I last read these books, so I would have to reread at least on from the second one, because I have seen the movie for the first one a couple times and I read the book, so I know what happens in the first one, but I would have to at least reread it from the second one, which means I would have to reread at least 3 books before I could continue with the rest of the series. So yeah, when that's gonna happen, I have no idea, but I do still want to finish the series. Last book, and the last book on my list is from one of my favorite authors. It's The Glittering Court by Rossi. This kind of reminded me of The Selection. I don't know if other people also had that. I know the second book is about a whole different character than this one. I thought it would be really interesting because I think her story is like finished now, or doesn't really have any more exciting things happening, I guess. I also own the second book, just like with the Crowns game. I just don't know why I haven't picked it up yet. I think when I read the sequels to this, I will have read all but one of Rossi books, which would be pretty awesome, so I just have to get on this. And those are all the book series I haven't finished, do not plan on finishing, do sometime in the future still want to finish. Let me know down below if you have any of these series that you also are not gonna finish, or what series you won't be finishing. I will leave all the links to my social media down in the description, so you can come follow me on Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter. And I will see you in my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Goodbye.